Okay, I'm filming how to change a distributor in an Astro van. I've been blowing through cats and I can't figure out why, because I've replaced coil pack, plug wires, spark plugs, like everything, cap, rotor, and I couldn't figure it out. And I got just so tired of it because I had to crawl into my van and undo the O2 sensor so I could make it home because the cat was plugged. And I dug deeper and there is a crack in the distributor, and this piece of crap is plastic. This whole distributor is plastic. And you can buy a new one from AC Delco that's plastic for $200. Or I found this one on Amazon for 50 bucks, and it's billet, and the reviews are amazing. The rotor inside there also has a ton of play. So I'm going to show you how to replace this distributor on the Astro van, and then basically how to do it. I'm going to time it by ear. I'll explain that. Timing light would be a real bitch on this thing just because of like where it's at, and it's like, it's not a drag car, it's an Astro van. So like, even like when I built my El Camino, like I timed it by ear and I brought it to my buddy and he timed it, and it was like, we moved it a degree. So we'll just get it so it's running really smooth, and I'll drive it without the engine cover and make sure it's like running how it's supposed to. But I did mark like roughly where the distributor sits. So like I know when I put this new one in, like with the cap on, I have a brand new cap, but I'll just use that one to where I put it preference. So, but I already did label all the plug wires, so you know, we know where they go. So that'll be set, and I'm going to go ahead and take off the cap and put it at top dead center, and then we'll pull, this is the only wiring on the distributor, we'll pull that out, and then make sure it's at top dead. We'll carefully take out the distributor without moving the cam gear, and then hopefully drop the new one in place. And you know, hopefully I don't run into too many problems. I really don't want to have to like keep putting it at top dead. It's like wintertime and cold, but I was really tired of like my van, like, you know, running really rich. And I actually found this out by a guy who has like 6 Astro vans, and he was like, yeah, it's so overlooked and people can't figure out what's wrong with them, and it's literally a distributor, and it's fucking plastic. I mean, it's plastic. So I'm gonna go ahead and take off the cap, and I'll put it at top dead, and we'll keep getting through this. So like I said, I labeled every single wire on, like, to match the cap. You know, like 4 is 4, and there is numbers on the cap if you look closely, if it focuses in. Right there, see coil, and they're all lettered, so I labeled the plug wires so I don't have to try to look at that after. So I'm going to go ahead and take off this cap, and I'll show you how to put it at top dead, and we're just going to keep digging through this. Alright, and hopefully this will solve, this is pretty much the last new piece I have to put under the hood. Like I said, it's got a new coil, new ICM, new plugs, new plug wires. I put a new mass airflow, all new O2 sensors. I had a brand new HiFu cat a month ago, but that got clogged. So I just banged it out and hollowed it out, and I put the exhaust back up. And it's, like I said, it's a Dynamax catback system, and right now it just has a hollowed out cat, and it hasn't seemed to throw a code yet. I'm hoping after I replace the distributor it still won't throw a code, because it runs really good with a hollowed out cat. So let's just do the how-to with distributor, and we'll get it done. And one thing, by timing by ear too, I also have a tachometer that I wired that I should have did a how-to, because it was really hard finding where to wire it on this Astro van, because a lot of people said, oh, it doesn't work here, it doesn't work there. I mean, real quick, like I ran the power underneath the dash up into where I have power right when I turn the key on. So when I turn the key on, bam, it comes on. And then, you know, you ground it under the dash. There's only one wire to power the gauge and for the light. It's because it's an LED. And then the impulse wire that comes from the tachometer down, you actually run it down into the coil wire. You run it into the white and black wire on the coil is where you run it. There's a red wire and a white and black wire. I mean, you can also run it on the ICM on, I think it's also a black and white wire, and they say it doesn't work and you have to run to the ECM. You don't on these O3 Astro vans. It works there. I've had it in my van for like 8 months now, and it works perfect, and it's, yeah. I checked the RPMs all online just to make sure it was right, and like it idles the same, and like that's a cheap $16 Chinese tack, so which I will probably upgrade that 2 5/8 to an auto meter, or it's 2 1/16. just so it's more accurate. But it is, all the RPMs are accurate. It's just like, you know, it's a $16 gauge. It's not as nice as an odometer. But yeah, all right, anyway, go ahead to doing the distributor. All right. Okay, I just pulled the cap off. So we're gonna put it, number 1 on the cap is, see how number 1 on the cap, focus in, this camera is not focusing. It's basically, okay, so number 1 on the cap is right here. I don't know why my camera isn't focusing. So that's number 1. So the distributor has to point like right, like here, the rotor. So I have everything unplugged so it won't fire. So you just bump it. So right there. So in theory, hopefully, which is going to be kind of a bitch because I got to push these out of the way, but I want to pop this right out without fucking it up, so I can just drop the new one right in where it needs to be, and I don't have to mess around with trying to put it on top dead 1,000 times because it's cold and it's winter time. So you're going to want to loosen the hold down bolt down here. If you can see that, it looks like a 10 millimeter. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and we're kind of like hoping for the best. So okay, so I took out the 10 millimeter bolt. You don't want to lose that because those are, I don't know if they're special thread, but you just don't want to lose it. We're at number 1 on the cap, so we want to carefully pull this out because we don't want to, we want to make sure you know right where it is. Actually, I'm gonna fucking mark right, where's that marker? I'm gonna actually mark it right here so I know where the other rotor has to face, because I don't want to deal with having to like try to put it at top dead and so it runs again. We just want to take the old one out, put the new one in, and be done. And if you don't do these steps, like, you will really screw yourself over. So and that's why I'm making a how-to video. So I've been there a million times when I did my El Camino when I was a kid. So we're gonna push this line back out, but just be careful because like this does get messed up a lot from taking the engine cover off, but we're just gonna try to push it without ruining anything. I do have to tape my tack wire up more to the harness. I did all the way down, but yeah, whatever. All right, that's another day. Anyway, okay, so we're gonna pop this out, and like I said, you're gonna hold it right here and just try to lift the whole distributor up without moving anything, and you want to drop the new one down in the same spot. So I pulled it out and I didn't move the rotor, and we want to drop the new one in the same spot so it turns to the same location. Okay, so like I pulled it out, it turned back a hair. See how like it turned back a hair? I'm leaving it just like this, and I'm going to drop the new one in same exact spot so it spins right where it needs to go. So like it spun probably like an 1/8 inch or a 1/4 inch this way. If you can see, my line is straight on those fuel lines. Like I drew a little line. Freaking glare. See how that I lined it straight with the rotor, and it's a little curved. So you're gonna line the new one up with the hole and drop the rotor in the same spot, and it should kick and line right up. So hold on 1 second. What? Sorry, I have Tourette's. Mild case. But anyway, see? Now I dropped that in the same spot, and see how it's fucking lined up with that mark on the fuel line? You can't, let me point it out. Right there, I marked it straight to line up with the rotor straight on number 1. So I did like what I said. I lined the hole up to where it needed to be, and I noticed when I pulled this one out, it was like, basically it was like this, facing number 1 in my van, like this, and I pulled it out and it spun like this. It spun like that. So I was like, okay, I don't want to have to like mess around and put this at top dead in the cold. It's snow. It's like, it's 0 degrees outside and snow everywhere. So that's what I did. I lined it up with this little electrical connection, and I dropped it in so it was like in, and then I like just moved the rotor around a little bit, and it see how the timing gear is curved? It turned and dropped into place right where it needed to be, just like that is there. So theoretically we should be ready to go, and it's lined up on number 1, so we can just like put the distributor hold down in and put the cap on and put the plug wires back on. So let me do that. Hold on 1 second.
Alright, I'll close it.
So actually I think on these Astro vans the ECM times them, because I just put the distributor in and I was lining all the marks up, but I've noticed that this fork on the distributor is like, it's like fixed in there. And then when you bolt it in, you can't move it at all because it just fixing the bolt hole down, see? So I think the ECM just times it. So that's why it's very important to do exactly what I do with the rotor. So theoretically, this thing should fire back up and run like nothing happened to it. And it's going to be like, oh my God, this distributor is sick because it's not fucking plastic. GM, I can't believe you used a plastic distributor. I'm sorry. That's billet aluminum. Everyone ranted about these things, so I hope it works good. Another thing too with these Astro vans is a lot of people don't put the rotor on all the way, and I know that sounds dumb, but like, see how there's a flat part right there? It's also flat on the back, so you have to wiggle and push it, and then it goes clip, and it's on. So I'm gonna get these little tiny profanity screws in that are like impossible. So what I did too is I pushed this cap and wiggled it to make sure it was on all the way, and make sure it was flush all the way around too.